from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka. Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast on ChannelEye. We are coming to you live from the National News Studio. I'm Natalia Veeravardhana and joining me is Win Hettiarachi. First, let's take a look at the headlines for tonight.
A discussion between the President and Tamil National Alliance. Distribution of gas continues island-wide. The government states that the local banking system is stable. Sri Lanka's second nano-satellite sent to the orbit. Joe Biden says strong measures will be taken if Russia uses chemical or biological weapons against Ukraine. Now on to those and more stories in detail. On today's top story, President Gotabaya Rajapaksha has invited the Tamil National Alliance to join together to work to build the country.
Indeed, the President made the invitation during a discussion today with Tamil National Alliance at the Presidential Secretariat. The discussion was based on 5 main points. The President said that the government is acting on several aspects, including releasing of suspects who were under detention for a long time, taking forward action on the suspects who have not been charged, commencing the truth-seeking machinery, amending the Prevention of Terrorism Act, and solving problems related to missing persons. The President pointed out that by working together, the country can be developed by meeting the aspirations of the people, including the North and East. Tamil National Alliance leader R. Sambandhan said that his hope is to take the country towards prosperity, with a political solution in United Sri Lanka. Discussions were also held on releasing lands used for a long time for cultivations, discussing amendments to be added to the new constitution after it is translated into Tamil and Sinhala languages, and establishing a development fund for North and East. A group of people, including Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksha, Ministers Professor G.L. Piris, Chamal Rajapaksha, Ali Sabri, President Secretary Gamini Senarath, President's Chief Advisor Lalit Veeratunga, representing Tamil National Alliance MP M.A. Sumanthiran and Charles Nirmalanathan attended the discussion.
I'm sure we can negotiate the issues that you all have, issues that I can solve immediately without any delay. I will do so, but if there are things that needs further discussion that we have to negotiate, and especially when I was elected, also I said that though my majority of the votes come from the South, I said I'm the president for the whole country, and irrespective of ethnicity or religious differences, I will serve equally all the citizens of this country, and I want to solve the issues that we have, remaining issues. For the last 2 years, I have done a lot of things with the Justice Minister, also the releasing of some suspects who were in the custody for a long time, then the revision of the amendment of the PTA, and also the work of different commissions. I have requested them to expedite on this, and I want to work to solve this missing persons issue. These are things that I can do, and also whatever the things that I have to do for the development of the area. That is, I think, our priority of all of us, to improve the living standards of the people in these areas. So those things we can do immediately together. So I just want to invite you all to work with us, with the government. Politically, it's different. Politically, you can take any stand, but for the people of the area, we will work together. I'm ready for that. The government is ready for that. We can discuss today, and we can further continue these discussions to solve these issues.
We are committed to using this opportunity to resolve the Tamil national question, which has plagued this country from 1947 when it attained independence, and which we hope to achieve within the framework of a united, undivided, indivisible Sri Lanka, where the sovereignty of all people will be respected. All people will have meaningful access to their sovereignty. So we are prepared to serve within the framework of a united, undivided Sri Lanka. We want Sri Lanka to prosper. We want Sri Lanka to be a prosperous country. We want Sri Lanka to be the Switzerland of the East.
Long queues were seen in front of fuel stations, gas stations during the past couple of weeks here in Sri Lanka. But today, several gas distribution centres have commenced their distribution in several parts of the island. And here are some more details about this distribution process.
Also in relation, a permit of the agent of Hackney Kogal area who sold 12.5 kilograms of gas cylinder for 4,500 rupees has been reportedly suspended. General Manager in charge of Central, Uva and Sabaragamuwa provinces of the Litro Gas Company made these remarks. The Litro Gas Company had issued 112.5 kilogram domestic gas cylinders to Hatton Kogal agent. An investigation has been conducted after they received a complaint from Kotakala Traders Association that the gas cylinders are being sold for 4,500 rupees by the agent. Accordingly, his gas selling permit has been temporarily suspended. A 12.5 litre gas cylinder should be sold for 2,771 rupees. The General Manager in charge of Central, Uva and Sabaragamuwa provinces of the Litro Gas Company said it is compulsory to display prices at all stalls of the agent. When the consumers protested in front of the trade stall, it was closed down. Thereafter, it was opened with the intervention of police officers and gas cylinders were given to consumers according to the approved prices of the company. Meanwhile, our reporters said that the queues near Maradana and Demadagada filling stations have been minimized. Filling station employees say they are receiving sufficient stocks of fuel. Buses can be seen continuously leaving from Colonnava oil storage complex. It is reported that sufficient fuel stocks are being distributed among fuel stations in Puttalam district. State Minister Dilum Amunugama expressed his views about the train fare amendment. Power will be disconnected from 8 a.m. to 11:20 a.m. tomorrow in A, B, C, D zones in southern, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern and western provinces. The power will be disconnected again in those areas from 6 p.m. to 7:40 p.m. tomorrow. The power will be disconnected in E, F, G, H zones from 11:20 a.m. to 2:40 p.m. and from 7:40 p.m. to 9:20 p.m. PQR zones of the northern, north central, central, northwestern, western, eastern and Uva provinces will be imposed with a power cut tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 12 noon and 6 p.m. to 7:40 p.m. The power cut will be imposed in ST zones from 12 noon to 3 p.m. and STU zones will come under a power cut from 7:40 to 9:20 p.m. A power cut will come into effect in UVW zones from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and in the VW zones from 9:20 p.m. to 11 p.m. In the meantime, Central Bank has stated that the local banking system is normal and that state bank operations are done as usual.
This has been stated in a release issued to the media by the Finance Ministry and the Central Bank. The Central Bank has mentioned this, explaining about a statement published yesterday in connection with the State Bank. The release has said that operations of all state banks are being conducted smoothly. Meanwhile, Governor of the Central Bank, Ajit Niwad Cabral, has issued a Twitter message in connection with not attending Public Accounts Committee. The Twitter message has said that they are prepared to meet the committee in a future date and it was not done to dishonour the Parliament.
Minister Ramesh Patrana says that the Sri Lankan Central Bank has guaranteed that there is no issue about financial stability of all state banks. He mentioned this during a media briefing of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana in Colombo today. Minister Ramesh Patrana said that the people should not doubt about the financial stability of the state banking system. During last year, 3 main state banks have earned a profit of more than 20 billion rupees. The banks are in possession of assets worth trillions of rupees. Therefore, the person who transacts with those banks should not entertain unnecessary fears because the banking system is secure.
Sri Lankans who are arriving in the country after being employed in Korea and Korean nationals staying in Sri Lanka are converting their dollars into rupees. It commenced at the Bank of Ceylon main office in Fort. Korea faced such a crisis in 1997. They said that the people handed over their gold to the Korean government and contributed to overcome the economic problem. They expressed belief that Sri Lanka would be able to solve the crisis soon.
The second nanosatellite produced by the engineers of the Arthur C. Clarke Center was sent to orbit yesterday. It has been named as Kitsune. The Arthur C. Clarke Center signed a Memorandum of Understanding in 2017 with Kyushu Technological Institution of Japan. As a result, the first nanosatellite created by the engineers of the Arthur C. Clarke Center was sent to orbit on the 17th of June in 2019. The new satellite was taken to the International Space Center on 18 February of this year. It was sent to orbit 400 kilometers away from the International Space Center. It is 6 times bigger than Ravana 1 satellite.
And to give you more updates on Kitsune, the second nanosatellite launched by Sri Lanka, we do have with us today on a live telecast of news, Director General and CEO of Arthur C. Clarke Institute for Modern Technology, Engineer Sanat Panavennage. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Ivan.
Ivan, first of all, this has been a historic day to Sri Lanka as we have launched the second nanosatellite after Ravana 1. This is a teamwork, and we would like to know the role of the Arthur C. Clarke Institute behind this mega project.
Thanks, Natalia. Actually, this is a project by 5 parties, a collaborative project that was undertaken by 5 parties coming together from 3 different countries to design, develop and launch this nano satellite. So, the institutions involved were Kyushu Institute of Technology, what we call QTech, who was our partner when we developed our first nano satellite Ravana 1 a couple of years ago. And then that was a central institution, and there were 4 others, including Arthur C. Clarke Institute, that came together. So our role was in designing and developing some of the core modules of the satellite, including its what we call onboard computer and some of the communication subsystems, and also some of the essential sub-modules and assemblies for the satellite. So we were involved in designing, our engineers were involved in designing, developing and testing of some of those key modules of the satellite.
As you mentioned, this is the second nanosatellite launched by Sri Lanka. So we'd like to know the significance behind launching a nanosatellite.
Well, actually, space technology is a vital technology. We understand that, we recognize that as one of the key elements of the ensemble of technologies that country needs to develop in its transition into an advanced technology-led economic growth situation. So, so the modus operandi that Sri Lanka has adopted in achieving that is to go through a nanosatellite development program. So nanosatellite, as I said, have all assemblies of a conventional satellite, but it's smaller in size and less in cost. Then it gives the right kind of platform for our engineers to develop their fundamental capabilities in space technologies.
A project of this caliber must have cost a lot. We would like to know about the financial assistance provided from the government, or how was it done? How did it become a reality?
Well, actually, our overall space technology development program is being funded by the government, but in this particular nanosatellite, we have a very special case. In fact, as I said, this is a collaborative project between 5 parties. We came on board this nanosatellite development project without spending money for capital expenditure. That was purely on the basis of the services, the knowledge and technological skills of our engineers in designing and development work and testing work. That was a contribution that we made. So that was also a very big opportunity for us, because this provided a big opportunity, a big exposure to develop and enhance the skills of our engineers in this vital domain of technology.
Finally, we would like to know the ongoing as well as the upcoming projects from the Arthur C. Clarke Institute and your team.
Well, we are going ahead with this nanosatellite development programs. As I said, this is a modus operandi that we have resolved in developing our national capabilities in space technology. So we have a couple of other projects coming up. In one project, we are developing what is called an engineering model of a nano satellite. So that's happening this year. And so that going beyond the engineering model, there will be a flight model. There is a model that is ready to fly, ready to be launched and ready to be launched to the space. So that will happen sometime next year. That's once again a very small satellite.
That's great news, something to look forward to by all the Sri Lankans indeed. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Engineer, for joining us. Engineer Sanath Panavannage, the Director General and CEO of Arthur C. Clarke Institute for Modern Technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And in other news, a committee appointed to provide relief to state officials who were found not guilty and discharged from court cases filed against the state and semi-government employees with the aim of taking political revenge handed over its report to Prime Minister yesterday at the Temple Trees. The committee report was handed over to the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksha by its chairman, retired Chief Justice Asoka De Silva. Other members of the committee were present on the occasion. The Prime Minister instructed officials to take necessary measures to submit the committee matter to the Cabinet. The aim is to provide necessary relief and compensation by considering expenditure, mental and social difficulties faced by those officials.
Paddy purchasing is continuing in the Polonnaruwa district, whereas 4,672 metric tons of paddy have been purchased. Harvesting in the Maha season has commenced. Paddy purchasing is taking place through the Paddy Marketing Board and cooperative societies. The government has given a higher price for farmers for Nadu, Samba and Kiri Samba paddy harvest. The second phase of the compost fertilizer production project implementing island-wide by the Land Reforms Commission commenced today at Anuradhapura, Mahailupalam area. Minister S.M. Chandrasena and Chairman of the Land Reforms Commission Nilantha Vijayasinghe were present on the occasion. The government has taken steps to provide organic fertilizer free of charge to the farmers before the commencement of Yala season. 1,600 hectares of paddy are scheduled to be cultivated in the Maha season under Kurunagala, Rambukethura Agrarian Services area. Compost fertilizer is district through 42 Agrarian Services centres. A training program on the use of organic fertilizer organised by the Capital Samardh Zone in Valimada Divisional Secretariat area took place at Vidurapala College today.
Now, the situation in Ukraine is something that has grabbed international headlines, and that situation has been monitored very closely by international officials. Recently, there was allegations that the Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, made that there are chemical strikes being done in Ukraine as well by the Russians.
Yes, indeed. In the meantime, yes, as we have moved into the nearly 1 month after the Russian invasion commenced back in February against Ukraine, that US President Joe Biden says strong action will be taken if Russia uses chemical or biological weapons against Ukraine. He mentioned this during World Leaders Summit in Brussels. And meanwhile, the UK Defence Ministry says that Ukraine forces have been able to recapture some cities that were under Russian forces. During the special session of NATO yesterday, Western leaders agreed to provide more war and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Leaders of G7 countries have said that they will support the International Criminal Court to conduct investigations on the alleged war crimes committed by Russian forces in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the UN General Assembly has held a second round of voting, urging Russia to end the war. Foreign reports say that the US President went to Poland after the summit in Belgium. Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky says that the steps taken by the Europe to prevent invasion of Ukraine were late. He pointed out measures including imposing sanctions on Russia should have taken a long time before. The Ukraine President mentioned this while addressing a European Council session. He said that it is still not late for the European Union to admit his country.
The United National Party organised a Satyagraha in Colombo today with the participation of party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe. The group arrived in Hyde Park after commencing the walk from 3 places in Colombo. The Satyagraha has been organised emphasising the need for a national policy and a national consensus. It was held at the Hyde Park ground without expressing any views. A group of people, including former parliamentarians, members of the UNP, attended the event.
Former Minister Ranjan Ramanayake pleaded guilty in the Supreme Court today for contempt of court. The Supreme Court Registrar has made a complaint stating that a statement made over a private channel by Mr. Ranjan Ramanayake has caused contempt of court. Mr. Ranjan Ramanayake made this statement on the 5 judgment appointed to hear the fundamental rights petitions filed seeking nullify the gazette issued by the then President Maithripala Sirisena in 2018 dissolving the parliament. The case was heard before Justices Buwanika Lubihare, LTB Dehideniya and Gamini Amarasekara.
During the pandemic, school children continued their education through the internet. While studying, Amina and Fatima also started learning about baking cakes. They are sisters of the same family. Amina Imtiaz is the elder sister who is studying for advanced level at Bambalat PTM Muslim College. The younger sister, Fatima Imtiaz, is studying in grade 9 of Somadevi Balika Vidyalaya in Kotikavatta. While staying at home, Amina started baking cakes. She started learning baking cakes through the internet while studying. The sisters bake cakes for various functions including birthdays and weddings. They had the opportunity to display their cakes at a cake exhibition organized on the 24th of February at Colonava District Secretariat. The entrepreneurial sisters are successful in baking cake and selling cakes through the knowledge obtained through the internet.
Director of Lady Ridgeway Hospital, Dr. Vijay Surya, says that the number of deaths in relation to coronavirus are decreasing all over the country.
Dr. Vijay Surya continued that despite the easing of restrictions, individuals must follow health guidelines and should obtain the booster dose. He says those getting the booster dose should avoid following anti-vaccine myths. He made these remarks while speaking to media today.
Nowadays in our hospitals as well as in the field, we can notice that there are less number of patients are reporting every day, and number of deaths also coming down. Usually that deaths are remaining between 1 to 5 deaths per day. Over the country, number of patients are coming down. At the moment that some countries there are new variants reported. Restrictions are now relaxed. That we have to be very vigilant and very alert regarding this issue. And the same time we have to pay attention to follow the health instruction. Everybody has to wear the masks, and the same time we have to maintain the distance. We are giving the very reputed and well accepted booster dose in Sri Lanka. 50% of the expected people are have taken the booster dose. Since the 1st of April, we are trying to implement that restriction of go to the public places without vaccine card. I heard that there are some people says that after the vaccine they are getting some kind of that side effects or some kind of diseases. At the moment there is no any evidence. What is to don't believe that's myths and beliefs.
Now, in the current period, matters of parliament are of the utmost importance. Today, we are having debates about what are essential services. A gazette in relation to this was presented in parliament today.
Yes, indeed. The gazette published by the President according to the provisions of Essential Public Services Act was passed in parliament today without a debate. The gazette has been issued making electricity supply, hospitals, care services and health services as essential services. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksha presented condolences motions on former MPs Paddy Harvest, M.S. Selasamy, Justin Galapatti and K. Thangeshwari. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksha said that Mr. Paddy Harvest, who entered politics through Lanka's Sama Samaj Party, was an outstanding character during political struggles and had struggles to protect the environment. He was an activist to protect the phosphate deposit and in several other movements to protect the environment. Mr. Selasamy rendered an immense service to the estate communities, and Mr. Justin Galapatti was dedicated to develop temples, Dhamma schools, schools and sports. Mrs. Thangeshwari Kadiragama is recognized as the first woman to be elected to Parliament representing the Batticaloa district. The Prime Minister expressed his and government's condolences to the family members of late parliamentarians.
මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ගේ සහ මන්ත්‍රීතුමියන්ගේ අභාවයන් නිසා සංවේදී පවුල්වල සියලු දෙනාට මාගේ රජයේ ශෝකය ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Opposition leader Sajit Premadasa said that Mr. Justin Galapathy worked closely with Mr. Ranasinghe Premadasa and he was a people-friendly and progressive public servant.
A report compiled by Finland's political party institution under the theme of women's representation in politics was launched yesterday in Colombo. A group of people engaged in politics attended the function. Approval has been given for a 25% women's representation in politics. However, it is still below 23%. Therefore, it was emphasized that the agreement is not properly implemented. State Ministers Sudarshani Pernandapulle, Dayasri Jayasekara and General Secretaries of main political parties were present at this occasion. Now, in this country, elephants are an asset. Elephants can be seen readily in many areas, but in some other countries, this is not the case.
Indeed, although elephants can be seen in Sri Lanka, they cannot be seen in many other countries, whereas the elephant is considered the biggest animal on land, and attempts should be made always to protect them. Two Sri Lankans making whereas the Kalaweva National Wildlife Park is a beautiful place to watch wild elephants. They can be seen during the rainy season as well as during the dry season. Herd of elephants come there to feed on grass after the rainy season. However, problems have arisen to elephants these days. The water level of Kalaweva tank remains in the same level since the water taken by a private electricity plant at Dambulla Ibbankatu area is not released again to Kalaweva. As a result, the elephants are facing a problem to find food. The wild elephants storm villages in the night, breaking the electric fence, and the villagers said more than 200 elephants enter the villages. Some people shoot at the elephants and injuries can be seen over some of them. People in the area said that the wild elephants were seen near Kalaweva tank some years ago, but there were no problems since there was enough food. A program to clear byroads in Thalava, Nallamudrava village commenced yesterday to protect from wild elephants. An electric fence is also scheduled to be erected. 78 wild elephants have died in the Anuradhapura district due to human activities, and 20 people have died following wild elephant attacks.
Two Sri Lankans making waves in Singapore and abroad, Mohana Priyan Thavaraja, who is the principal dancer of Singapore's Apsara Arts Company, and its artistic director Arvinath Kumaraswamy have returned to the local stage with their acclaimed production of Paramapadam, which is based on a board game Snakes and Ladders. Sri Lanka audience will have a chance to see them perform on local stage when the internationally acclaimed production will be at the Lionel Venn Theatre on the 2nd and 3rd of April.
Apsara Arts from Singapore is a premier international dance company, and all our productions go on tours internationally. Paramapadam also has been premiered in Singapore, and it has been taken to Europe and to other parts of Asia. And we are so proud to bring it to Sri Lanka as a Sri Lankan born artist who's now a Sri Lankan Singaporean. I feel so proud to bring it to our homeland and to share this beautiful work with the Sri Lankan arts fraternity and audiences alike. In this tour, we'll be also not just performing, we also be conducting workshops and master classes where almost 1,000 dancers and dance teachers across the island will be taking part and learning some techniques that we will share. And we feel this is a great opportunity for us to bring back home what we learned internationally and to share it with the fraternity so that we can all grow together to become experts in this art field.
Paramapadam, this show is very special to me, and it's very timely production that carries a very profound message to its audience, and bringing that beautiful production to Sri Lanka, it's even more special. It's my homecoming performance. Snakes and Ladders board game, that's something that we are very familiar with one and with other. This has a very profound message of teaching good moral values of human lives. So this show is catered to not just to adult, but also attracts the children about learn more about this game and how this game moral values are brought through the medium of dance.
ITEC India-Sri Lanka Technical and Economic Cooperation Program took place yesterday in Kandy under the patronage of Minister S.B. Dissanayake. The Kandy Assistant Indian High Commissioner's Office organized the event. The ITEC program has been implemented on a decision of the Indian Cabinet. It is being implemented as a cooperation program from India to Sri Lanka. India has implemented training programs on capacity development in 160 countries during the past 50 years. Minister S.B. Dissanayake said that the program implemented by India as a close friend and neighbour is highly appreciated. Kandy Assistant Indian High Commissioner Dr. Athiras said that the program would be continued enhancing cooperation between the two countries. We'll bring you foreign news right after this.
Prima Stella Set Yogurt. Be healthy, be active and be safe.
Getting into news from overseas, whereas the United States has imposed new sanctions on entities and people in North Korea after Pyongyang's latest intercontinental ballistic missile test. Meanwhile, North Korea has announced that it successfully launched its largest intercontinental ballistic missile in a test yesterday.The US Song 17 was first unveiled in 2020 at a parade where its colossal size surprised even seasoned analysts. Yesterday's launch marked the first time the country tested an intercontinental ballistic missile since 2017. Yesterday's missile launch was tracked by militaries in Japan and South Korea. Japanese officials said it flew to an altitude of 6,000 kilometers and fell in Japanese waters.
Tigrayan rebels agreed to a cessation of hostilities on Friday, new turning point in their nearly 17-month war in northern Ethiopia, following the government's announcement of an indefinite humanitarian truce day earlier. Rebels have said in a statement sent to media early today that they are committed to implementing a cessation of hostilities effective immediately and urged Ethiopian authorities to hasten the delivery of emergency aid to Tigray, where hundreds of thousands face starvation. Since war broke out in 2020, thousands have died, many more have been forced to flee their homes as the conflict has expanded from Tigray to the neighboring regions of Amhara and Afar.
And we are in for sports news. The Sri Lankan champion in chess was able to defeat the Indian champion in Delhi at the chess championship which is being held in India currently. And also here are some updates from the world of sports.
Now the Sri Lankan player's name was Ranildu Liyanage. He beat Indian Grandmaster D. Gukesh. The championship was held with the participation of nearly 216 chess players. Sri Lanka's national champion Susal De Silva and 18-year-old Ranildu Liyanage are taking part in the Delhi Open Grandmasters tournament. Sport Minister Namal Rajapaksha laid the foundation stone for the nearest two-storied pavilion of Moratua de Souza ground and the shopping complex. Thereafter, Minister attended the colours awarding ceremony of the Moratua Mahavidyalaya. The annual Kaggala Golden Encounter between Kaggala St. Mary's and Kaggala College commenced today at the public ground. It is being held for the 40th occasion this time.
That's it for tonight's English News telecast.
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Stay safe.